Hey guys, it's me, Jem, and welcome to Jem at the Movies, a segment here on my YouTube channel where I take a look at some movies and TV series, either recent or old but gold. So today we're gonna do something a little different. We're gonna take a look at two versions of Lion King movies, 1994 and 2019. So we're going to be deconstructing both movies scene by scene, and we're going to find out all the changes that have been made to the 2019 movie as well as all the additions, and there are a lot of them. Okay, so before we proceed with this review, just a few facts on The Lion King. The original Lion King was directed by Rob Minkoff and Roger Allers, and the 2019 version was directed by Jon Favreau. The original Lion King won two Academy Awards for Best Song and Best Score. Best Song for Can You Feel the Love Tonight by Elton John. And the 2019 Lion King was nominated for an Oscar in visual effects. Both Lion Kings are listed in the highest grossing movies of all time. The Lion King 2019 in number 7 position and the 1994 Lion King in number 50 position. Okay, let's begin the deconstruction. First of all, the intro for The Lion King, The Circle of Life, both beautifully animated. No changes were made. Everything was recreated shot by shot. The very first change you will notice is when Zazu arrives on the Pride Rock. Zazu, of course, is played by Rowan Atkinson in 1994 and John Oliver in 2019. Now, in 1994, when Zazu arrives on the Pride Rock, Mufasa, he looks down on Zazu and he smiles. In the 2019 version, he looks down at Zazu and then he looks to the horizon. And then when Rafiki arrives in 1994, he actually hugs Mufasa, and then in 2019, he just touches his head. Mufasa, of course, is played by James Earl Jones in both versions, while Rafiki is played by Robert Guillaume in 1994 and John Kani in 2019. So when Rafiki comes forward to mark Simba, in 1994, he uses some type of red liquid from a fruit or something, and in 2019 he breaks up an herb into, and then he marks Simba. Personally, I really like Rowan Atkinson's casting as Zazu. He was perfect for the part and he was really funny in it. Okay, let's move on to the part of the mouse and Scar's Life's Not Fair scene. In the 1994 version, Scar quickly catches the mouse, but in the 2019 version, the scene is a bit extended before Scar catches the mouse. Scar, of course, is played by Jeremy Irons in 1994 and by Chiwetel Ejiofor in 2019. Now, the part where Mufasa says, Sarabi and I didn't see you at the presentation this morning. And then in the 1994 version, Scar says, oh, that was today. And he leans up against the wall and he says, oh, I feel awful. That wasn't in the 2019 version. So when Zazu tells Scar that you should have been first in line, in 1994, Scar uses the word hairball to describe Simba, and in 2019, he uses Little Prince. And in the scene where Mufasa says, what am I gonna do with him? In 1994, Zazu's reply was, You can turn him into a throw rug and beat him. And in 2019, he says, Sire, there's one in every family. I had a cousin who thought he was a woodpecker, blah, blah, blah. So the lines did change a bit. So in the next scene, where Rafiki is trying to draw a symbol of Simba, in the 1994 version, there are no bugs, fireflies, or caterpillars. That's only in the 2019 version. And then in the next scene where Simba is waking up his dad, there were a few extra lines added. Simba says, uh, do we give orders for the hunt? Do we chase away evil intruders? Those lines are not in the 1994 version. And then after that, there is, of course, the Everything the Light Touches scene. And both scenes were perfect in both movies. And then after that scene, there is Zazu's morning report. Now, the little difference on this scene is that in the 2019 version, Mufasa does not tell Zazu to turn around. Okay, moving on to the scene with Scar and Simba. So, Simba comes up to Scar and he tells him, I'm gonna be king of Pride Rock. And in 1994, Scar's reply was, well, forgive me for not jumping for joy. Bad back, you know. He doesn't say that in the 2019 version. And in 1994, Simba tells Scar, when I'm king, what'll that make you? And then Scar replies, a monkey's uncle. And then in 2019, Simba says, when I'm king, I'll have to give you orders, tell you what to do. How weird is that? And then Scar replies, you have no idea. Okay, the next scene is a song number, Just Can't Wait to Be King. And I'll have to give this one to the 1994 version. Although I think in the 2019 version they wanted to go for a more realistic look. Because the 2019 version did not have this scene. This particular scene, which was beautiful. So for Just Can't Wait to Be King, song number 1994 definitely wins. Okay, so let's move on to the elephant graveyard scene with the hyenas. Now, the original hyenas of 1994 were Whoopi Goldberg as Shenzi, Cheech Marin as Banzai, and Jim Cummings as Ed. While in the 2019 version, Shenzi was played by Florence Kasumba, and Banzai was played by Eric Andre, and Ed was played by Keegan Michael Key. So in this scene, the lines were also changed. In 1994, Banzai said, well, looky what we have here, a trio of trespassers. While in 2019, Banzai said, we weren't expecting guests today. Would you two cubs like to stay for dinner? And then Ed in 1994 doesn't really talk, he just laughs. And Ed in 2019 says, yeah, stay for dinner because you look like a midnight snack. And Shenzi in 1994 says, ooh, I got one. Make mine a cub sandwich. And in 2019, she says, now this is a meal I've waited for my whole life. And then additional lines for Shenzi, she says, hyenas and lions had been at war since the beginning of time. That's an additional line. And in the 2019 version, there is no birdie boiler scene where the hyenas are trying to put Zazu in a geyser. Now, this is the biggest disappointment of the Lion King 2019 version, which should have been the highlight of the movie and would have made the entire movie perfect. It's the Be Prepared song number. Because Jeremy Irons' version was so sinister, and it's what a Disney villain song should be. Now, Chiwetel Ejiofor, um, I like the guy. I like his movies. It's just that he didn't nail this part of Scar in The Lion King. There were some funny lines of the hyenas that the 2019 movie was missing, like when Banzai says, Mufasa, and then Shenji says, "Ooh, ooh, do it again, do it again, do it again, Mufasa." And then while Scar is singing "Be Prepared," Banzai is asking, "Yeah, be prepared for what?" Uh, then Scar says, "For the death of the king." And then Banzai says, "Why, is he sick?" And then Scar says, "No, fool, we're gonna kill him." And then the hyenas were like, "Who needs a king? No king, no king, la 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 la." That was really funny. So Jeremy Irons' version of Be Prepared in 1994 wins this part of the movie. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the gorge stampede scene because the Mufasa teaching Simba scene is exactly the same in both versions. Uh, so in the next scene where Scar is with Simba in the gorge, the 1994 version doesn't have Scar saying that Mufasa used to go there, he used to practice his roar. That was not in the 1994 version. For me, I like both versions of the Stampede scene. Some people, they like the 1994 scene better. The scene where Scar kills Mufasa, in 1994, he pushes Mufasa's paws off of the gorge, and in the 2019 version, Scar slaps his paw on Mufasa's face, and then he falls. And about Mufasa's death, um, 1994's version was more dramatic, more emotional than 2019's version. And then after that, when Scar tells the hyenas to chase after Simba, in the 1994 version, Banzai falls into the thorns. That is not in the 2019 version. That was funny though, but it's not in the 2019 version. Okay, moving on to Timon and Pumbaa. Um, Vultures around Simba, exactly the same scene. Pumbaa, of course, in 1994 was played by Ernie Sabella, and in 2019 by Seth Rogen. And Timon in 2019 played by Billy Eichner, and in 1994 by Nathan Lane. And Hakuna Matata is pretty much the same. All scenes pretty much the same. I love the recreation of the growing up scene in 2019 where um, the background is changing and Simba is slowly growing up. That was a perfect recreation of the original scene in 1994. And the scene in the 2019 version, the part where Simba is on top of a termite mound or something, and then he suddenly breaks up the mound, and all these insects or whatever come out so they can eat. That is not in the 1994 version. Okay, next is a scene from the 2019 movie, which is also a new scene. It's where Scar is trying to invite Sarabi to eat with him. At the same time, Scar is trying to court Sarabi to be his queen, but Sarabi refuses. And then Scar tells him that the hyenas will eat before the lions. So that is a new scene, and that is not in the 1994 version. And then there's the scene where a piece of Simba's hair is just floating around. So in the 1994 version, that scene was much shorter. But in the 2019 version, that scene was extended. Um, like a giraffe ate that piece of hair, and then later it became dung. And there's a scene where the beetle is trying to roll the dung with that piece of Simba's hair. And then the hair starts floating again, and it's picked up by ants until it gets to Rafiki. So that Rafiki knows that Simba is alive. Okay, the next scene is Timon and Pumbaa singing The Lion Sleeps Tonight. And in 2019, the scene is much longer. And then Nala appears and she attacks them. Nala is played by Maura Kelly in 1994 and Beyonce Knowles in 2019. Simba then comes to the rescue and he introduces Nala to Timon and Pumbaa. And then the next scene will be song number Can You Feel the Love Tonight? The scenes are pretty much the same except in 2019 they don't have the scene of Simba jumping into the water and dragging Nala with him. That is only in the 1994 version. And also the way that Nala looked at Simba was better in 1994 than 2019. Both versions are beautifully done and I really like them both. Okay, moving on to the scene where Simba finds Rafiki and Rafiki will take him to talk to Mufasa. Now, this is where the 2019 version fails. Because in the 1994 version, you can really see the storm clouds taking the shape of a lion, which is Mufasa. And in 2019, it just looks like clouds. There is no real shape of Mufasa. It's just his voice talking. And it's just the same lines as well. And the scene where Rafiki hits Simba with his stick and tells him that you can't change the past, but you can learn from it. This scene was not in the 2019 version. Okay, in the next scene, it was Simba who was the first one to journey back to Pride Rock, and then Nala followed him. But in the 2019 version, it was Nala who was the first one to journey back to Pride Rock, and then Simba followed her. So they arrived back into the Pride Lands, and Simba sees that it's been turned into a wasteland. Uh, it's dry, there's no animals there. And in this scene, Timon and Pumbaa are supposed to be bait so that they can lead the hyenas away so Simba can go to the Pride Rock. Okay, so in the next scene, there's another difference. In 1994, when Scar calls Sarabi, she's slowly walking up to him, and some of the hyenas are looking at her as if they want to eat her. That scene is not in the 2019 version. Okay, so the next scene is the conversation between Sarabi and Scar, and it's very different in both versions. Okay, I'll start with the 1994 version. I'll say the name of the character and then the line. Okay, Scar. Um, Sarabi, where is your hunting party? They're not doing their job. Sarabi, Scar, there's no food. The herds have moved on. Scar, that's not true. You're not looking hard enough. Sarabi, there is nothing left. We must leave Pride Rock. Scar, no, we are not going anywhere. Sarabi, then you have sentenced us to death. Scar, then so be it. Sarabi, you can't do that. Scar, I'm a king. I can do whatever I want. Now, the difference here in the two versions is when Simba shows up, in 1994, Sarabi is on the ground and she's hurt. But in 2019, she's on her feet. Okay, this is the 2019 version of Sarabi and Scar. Okay, Scar. Sarabi, why put yourself through this? All you needed to do was be my queen. And you're suffering for what? A memory of a life you once lived? A king you once loved? I tried to make you understand what a true king can be. Sarabi, a true king's power is his compassion. And then both versions, of course, include Scar's line, I am 10 times the king Mufasa was. And then Sarabi replies, you're nothing like Mufasa. Okay, so the next scene is Scar and Simba encounter each other again for the first time. And in 1994, this is how their conversation went. Scar, Simba, I'm a little surprised to see you. Alive? Simba, give me one good reason why I shouldn't tear you apart. Scar, you must understand the pressures of ruling a kingdom. Simba, I am no longer yours. Step down, Scar. And then Scar points to the hyenas and then says, but you see, they think I'm king. And in the 2019 version, it goes, Scar, Simba, I'm so happy to see you. Alive? Simba, give me one good reason why I shouldn't tear you apart. Scar, I can give you more than one reason. You see, they, the hyenas, think I'm king. And then the rest of the scene is pretty much the same. Scar telling Simba how he killed Mufasa. And then in the next scene, the lions and hyenas are fighting, and there's an encounter between Shenzi and Nala, which was not in the 1994 version, in which Shenzi says, now this is a meal I waited for my whole life. And then Nala replies, I'm not afraid, and I'm not a cub anymore. That was not in the 1994 version. So, in the final encounter between Scar and Simba, Scar was trying to blame the hyenas. The way he said it is different in each version. In 1994, Scar said, the hyenas, they're the real enemy. It was their fault. It was their idea. And in 2019, he says, the hyenas, those revolting scavengers, I was planning on killing them all. The fight scene in both versions look really, really good, although I'd have to give 2019 a bit of an advantage. And then, of course, there is the additional line in that fight, which is not in the 1994 version, which is Scar says, "This is my kingdom, my destiny." And the way Scar falls off in both movies is different. In 1994, he was catapulted off the cliff by Simba. And in 2019, he just falls by himself. And in the next scene where Scar is about to get eaten by the hyenas, in the 1994 version, Scar seems to be a bit relieved to see the hyenas. His tone is like, "Ah, my friends." And then in the 2019 version, it's just "my friends." And then the additional lines like, "It will take some time, but we will build our army." And then in 1994, uh, the hyena's reply was, "Friends?" Shenzi goes, "Friends? I thought you said we were the enemy." And then Bonsai goes, "That's what I heard, Ed." And then Ed is just laughing. And in the 2019 version, Bonsai says, "Friends, I thought you said we were revolting scavengers." And then Ed says, "Yeah, and you wanted to kill us." And then Shenzi comes down and she says, "There's only one real thing you said, Scar. A hyena's belly is never full." And then the ending is pretty much the same. It ends where it started, with Nala and Simba having their own baby, and the animals coming back to Pride Rock. And that's the end of the movie. So, my final thoughts for both versions. For me, hands down, the original 1994 animated movie wins. The 2019 version could have been good, except it made some mistakes like the "Be Prepared" song number that could have been really really good, and the scene where Mufasa is talking to Simba from the clouds. That scene also could have been really really good. If only those scenes were done right, the 2019 version of Lion King could have been really really great. The disadvantage of turning Lion King into a live action movie is that it looked more like an Animal Planet documentary than a movie. But still, a live action Lion King is still entertaining to watch. And from a scale of 1 to 10, I would give it a 5. Okay, so we've come to the end of episode 13 of Gem at the Movies. If you like this video, please consider subscribing. Hit that notification button. And I'll see you on my next movie review. Bye!